Hey guys, welcome to my channel. So today we are going to discuss the difference between serialization versus externalization. So let's begin. First, let's see what is serialization and externalization. Now, both are mechanism in Java for converting an object state into a byte stream and vice versa, typically for saving to a file database or sending over a network. So in brief, if you want to change the object state into byte stream so that you can save it into a file or send it from one JVM to another JVM through a network, then we use these mechanisms. Now the next question is, if serialization was already there, then externalization was introduced? So externalization was introduced to overcome the limitation of serialization by giving developers control over what and how data is serialized. So unlike serialization, which automatically process all non-transient fields, externalization uses write external and read external for custom serialization, improving performance and flexibility. It supports custom format, backward compatibility, and proper object initialization via the no argument constructor. This make it ideal for complex or optimized serialization needs. So in high level, if you want to understand, is if you want to rely completely on the JVM for serializing your object, then you should go with serialization, which is very simple to implement. But if you want to have control over the serialization process, then you should go with externalization. Here, the developer has control over which field to serialize, and they can do all kind of customization. So let's see the difference between serialization and externalization in detail. So first thing, what is serialization? Well, it's a built-in mechanism to automatically serialize the entire object state. So in serialization, you do not have control on the mechanism, serialization mechanism, but you completely rely on JVM for that. But if you want to have an explicit control over what and how data is serialized, then you go with externalization. Next thing is serialization is a marker interface. Now, what is a marker interface? Well, a marker interface is a special type of interface in Java that does not contain any methods or field. It is supposed to mark a class with a specific property or capability. Marker interfaces are used to convey metadata about a class to the Java runtime or frameworks, influencing the behavior without requiring the class to implement any specific methods. So any class that is implementing the serializable, they get a tag or a mark that this class needs to be serialized. So the JVM gets a signal that this class is or this object is eligible for serialization. But that is not the case with externalization. Externalizable interface has two methods that need to be overwritten, write external and read external. So here you can customize that which fields you need to serialize and which field you need to deserialize. So the control over the serialization process is delegated from the JVM to the developer. Next point is limited control. So all non-transient, non-static fields are serialized automatically in case of serialization. You have complete control over the serialization process in externalization. Only the fields explicitly serialized in write external are saved. Next is serialization is slower due to reflection and metadata inclusion. Now, serialization relies on reflection to inspect the object structure. So, any field, the types, data types, modifier, which you have declared at runtime. So, this process adds computational overhead, especially for large or complex object graphs. What is metadata? So, along with the object data, serialization includes metadata such as class name and serial version UID, or field name and the data type, any information about the object graph, including references to other object. This extra metadata increases the size of the serialized byte stream. So when you are converting an object into byte stream along with the data, serialization process also store the metadata and adds to the processing time. So your processing times get increased, your data size get increased, that hampers the performance. But in case of externalization, no such things happen. So faster due to manual serialization, and it no metadata is saved. So you avoid metadata that makes the performance optimized. But next is, it is difficult to customize serialization process. It relies on default mechanism or transient field. So whichever field you do not want to serialize, you have to mark them with transient keyword. But this one is fully customizable. Developers define the serialization process explicitly. Schema evolution. Serialization relies on a serial version UID for backward compatibility, change in field that causes error. So whenever you're writing a serialization code, you generally mention this serial version UID. Now, serialization uses the serial version UID mechanism to ensure compatibility between the serialized form of an object and its current class definition during deserialization. So whenever you are deserializing it, it's check whether the serialization ID is the same uh, when the class was serialized. Now, this serial version UID is a unique identifier for the class. It ensures that the serialized byte stream correspond to the same version of the class during deserialization. But this serial version UID, either you provide it of your own, like in our case, but if we do not provide any serial version UID, Java generate one based on the class structure. So these fields name, these types, and these access modifier, uh, Java uses these to generate one serial version UID. So any change in the class structure, like adding, removing field, or changing the types, alter this auto-generated serial version UID, potentially causing a invalid class exception during deserialization. So after serializing the class, if you change the structure of this class and then when you are deserializing it, then this serial version UID won't match and then you will get a invalid class exception. Now, how the serial version UID can change, either adding or removing any field, renaming or changing the types of the field. So if you are any such thing, then this serial version ID will change and you will get an exception while deserializing. But externalization offers great flexibility for managing schema changes. So you do not need to mention any serial version UID in case of externalization, neither Java provide one. This backward compatibility things mechanism doesn't work in externalization, so this you do not get such exception if you are changing any. So if you are changing any fields, like you are adding new fields, or then what happened during deserialization, you can initialize these fields with default values or skip them altogether in case of externalization. And if old serialized data can still be deserialized without referencing removed field, as the deserialization process ignores them if they aren't explicitly read. So you do not get any exception in this case. Other thing is that serialization skip the class constructor during deserialization. It's not mandatory to have a no argument constructor in case of serialization of the class which you are serializing. But externalization always call the class no argument constructor during deserialization. So you need to mention one no argument constructor of the class. uh, includes metadata like class structure and object graph information, and it in increased size as we have discussed before. No metadata is included. So where do we need to use serialization? For simple cases where automatic serialization is sufficient, like when you have very few fields and you need to serialize everything, all the fields of your class, then you can go with serialization. But in complex scenario that requires custom logic, performance optimization, or external format support, then you should go with externalization. Now, serialization may throw exception like not serializable exception for non-serialization object in a graph. What does it mean? It means that serialization automatically serialize all non-transient, non-static field of an object, including reference to other object in the object graph. So it means that if any object in this graph does not implement the serializable interface, Java throws a non-serializable exception causing the entire serialization process to fail. So if any class, your class A contains an object of class B, then class B has not implemented serialization and you have not marked that object to transient, then when you are serializing your class A, then an exception would be thrown. In case of externalization, developer can manage and prevent such issue by excluding problematic object. Now, where a serialization is helpful, example is suitable for quick and standard Java serialization needs, and externalization is helpful for custom formats like JSON, XML, or when interoperating with non-Java systems. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for more Java related videos. Thank you.